The FIA Formula 3 Championship kicks into gear here at Silverstone. Welcome to round 7 of the 2025 campaign here at the birthplace of Formula 1. It's a practice session ahead of this weekend's action, to which the first time ever we see FIA Formulas 1, 2, 3 and 4 compete at the same weekend. Green light, virtual safety car test is underway. Good morning everybody and welcome to the British Grand Prix. This is the jewel in Formula 1's crown. Many people say Monaco. Silverstone always delivers great racing. It's the only circuit on the calendar which provides every single type of racing. You never know what you're going to get here. We've had dull races, we've had exciting races, we've had championship deciding races. Everything has happened here at Silverstone over the years. And it's absolutely fantastic. Let's check in then with our commentary team. Also down there at Silverstone and the virtual safety car.
It's the crucial element to this free practice session, isn't it? This is their quali sim. All drivers hyper-focused on their last chance to get their eye in ahead of that all-important qualifying session later on today.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely to Nicholas Solov, sadly disqualified for thickness of plank. A real shame for him after what should have been a real adding to what is already a record-breaking 5th win. He should have added a 6th to that. A real shame for him to get that last week.
Yeah, it's a huge thing on these single-seaters. From F4 all the way to F1, the plank really stipulates how low the car can go. And the lower the car goes, as we go green, the faster it goes. So that plank, that literal piece of wood at the bottom of the car, stops the car going too low. And it has to be 5mm. There's a tolerance, 0.5, and then a race tolerance of another 0.5 mil. We're talking that finer margins. And that plank was under the 4 mil by the end of the race. That can be legitimate wear and tear. A curb strike could be enough just to grind the bottom off, but the rules are the rules, and that was the biggest penalty from hero to zero.
Yeah, and he went from being what would have been 1 point behind Kamara in the championship to 28 points back and dropping to 3rd in the championship. Welcome back to Nicolas Lacourte. He served a suspension at the Red Bull Ring for going over 12 points on his licence. Now is back, so I think we'll be looking for just a clean weekend here, Joe.
Yeah, it's difficult as a driver that's lost their licence. It feels like you've got a target on your back already, but you need to be squeaky clean. The team would have told him that you just need to keep the nose of that car pink by the end of the weekend. We don't want that rear wing, front wing lost at any point.
Yeah, and turned 18 years old at the last round as well, so a happy birthday to Nicolas Lacourte for that. Now, Jesse Carrasquedo was with us for the last 2 rounds in the high-tech TGR car. And Nikita Johnson, who did a great debut last weekend in Nicolas Lacourte's Dams car, is now back for a 2nd round, Nikita Johnson. So he is going to be out for high-tech for a 2nd run. They're just coming through pit lane, some of the cars. We've talked a little bit about the championship, 28 points between the top 3. Joe, I just want to get your thoughts on the circuit that they're going to be facing this weekend. This one, some of the drivers are going to be coming to for the first time. What's the challenges they're going to be facing here at Silverstone?
They're vast, 18 corners, nearly 5.9 kilometres. The biggest single challenge the drivers are telling me is Copse Corner. It's nearly flat. It's not easy flat like New Turn 1 at Abbey. That's an easier flat corner. The shot of the background, that is New Turn 1, Abbey there. But Copse is just flat in quali trim, depending on the wind direction. At the moment, we've actually got a side wind on the right, drivers right into Copse. That's going to be difficult for them as we see the majority of the field box. We've only got 2 cars on track. And this is all that tyre management. The teams are given 4 sets of new tyres for the weekend. And the teams work back. They want on a new set for the race, sprint and the feature, and for qualifying. So they've got to use one here, but they don't want to go too early. They want to let the track rubber in slightly. So they've all gone out, they've done a recon lap, they've just had a look, make sure the car's okay. And this will be a chance also to bleed the tyre pressures down. There's a minimum tyre pressure that if you go below, you get excluded from the session and possibly a grid penalty later on in the weekend. So those tyres now will be a bit warmer. They've done 5.9 kilometers of Silverstone. The brakes will be warm. That will be seeping into the rim of the wheel, into the tyre, and that pressure starts to grow then. So they've got a chance to take some of that air out, keep legal, and then go for a quali sim later on in this session.
And Lawrence Van Houten, good point, was disqualified for having 3 times below the minimum tyre pressure at Red Bull Ring as well. So 2 drivers picking up penalties for that.
And it might be worth talking about why there's a minimum. That when the tyre has less air in, the whole structure of the tyre isn't as firm, so the tyre failure rate goes through the roof. So it's a safety thing more than anything else. But racing drivers and racing teams want performance, and the lower you go, the faster the tyre is, and that's why we have to have a mandate minimum tyre pressures.
Here we see Tim Tramnitz. He is now second in the championship with a real chance to go for this championship title. And we caught up with team manager at MP Motorsport, Jeremy Cotterill, about his 2025 season so far.
I think everything's still to play for in the F3 Championship. I think qualified the way, and Tim certainly hasn't qualified the way that he would have liked to and should have on occasions. But that's something that we're all working on as a team. But we've shown with all 3 of our cars that they are quick enough to be at the front at each and every event so far this year. We just need to deliver for the whole weekend. Tim drove fantastically last week from P17 to P2 in the end. A massive recovery. I'm intrigued to see what he can do when he starts from where he perhaps should start.
Jeremy Cotterill there, team manager at MP Motorsport, talking about Tim Tramnitz and his qualifying performances. Now, I think that's been a real key of this championship fight so far, Joe. We've seen 2 drivers share the pole position so far this season across 6 rounds. Tim Tramnitz, who's second in the championship, has a best qualifying of 5th so far this season. So you could argue he's making it quite difficult for himself in this championship fight.
Any single make championship is difficult to overtake. Formula 3 is no different. Of course, we've got the DRS to help that, but qualifying is so important. And that's what makes this free practice so important, because this is your quali sim that we've talking about. And just looking at some of the drivers leaving pit lane, they're grouping together in teams, aren't they? Prema were the first to blink, as you were. They sent all their 3 drivers out, then AIX heading out, and now you're seeing the rest of the teams just starting to filter out. ART there, all their 3 cars sticking together at the moment.
And the rules of qualifying, or the format rather, is the top 12 from qualifying, which will happen later on today at 2 p.m. local time. The top 12 from that session will be reversed for the lowest scoring sprint race tomorrow, and then they'll start as they qualify on Grand Prix Sunday for the feature race, where it is full Grand Prix points available. What's the key to qualifying session, Joe? They're going to be going out and doing simulations for that now, getting that 1 lap nailed as a driver.
It's all about the tyre problems. Getting the surface temperature right. You can see the racing agent, that shiny surface on the top of that tyre leaving pit lane now. You need to get rid of that. You need the surface temperature, you need the pressure right, but you want it right at the right point. If you go too hard on this out lap and you peak the tyre, by the end of that flying lap, you've already lost performance. You go the other way, it's not ready at the start of the lap. The key is to get it ready for the whole lap. To get that is very difficult. As a driver, you go, oh, the tyre's perfect at the start of the lap. Do I just need to back out of it and actually lose a 10th in sector 1 to gain 2 or 3 tenths in sector 3? Tyre management is critical here.
And this is going to be a completely different challenge. Red Bull Ring, quickest lap on the calendar. We're going to one of the longest laps on the calendar now. So from one extreme to the other.
Yeah, and the pressure is on, and it's going to feel like lights, camera, action here as we ride on board. And that's how it feels as a driver, the pressure, the crescendo of adrenaline that suddenly then just needs to elapse out of your body as you start that qualifying lap, because you can't afford to overdrive these cars. A single lockup, run deep into a corner, and that is your lap done.
Yeah, and we saw, you talk about pressure, maybe signs of pressure on Rafa Kamara last weekend as he was going through the sprint race. The sprint races have been maybe his element of weakness so far. In the feature race, he came a little bit more together, but tyre management was once again the crucial part of the race. That's certainly going to be a factor this weekend. I mean, weather could play a part. We're at Silverstone, so always have an umbrella with you if you're going to the race. But Nikola Solov enjoying the chase, very much enjoying the chase here, and he was quick here last season.
Yeah, chasing is much easier than leading. When you're leading, you've got to set the pace, you've got to pick your braking references, you've got to work out how hard to push those tyres, whereas you're the car behind, it's much easier to pace that. As you can see, Solov just lining up his run out the last part of club here, full throttle up to 4th gear, and this will be interesting to ride on board through turn 1. Are they flat yet? The wind direction should help them, and you can see the DRS in action as well. And actually Solov not starting that, but he's deciding to go for the 2 prep lap option. That is obviously something you can do as a driver. You feel your prep lap hasn't got them up to temperature in 1 lap, then the second prep is a good way to keep the tyre alive.
Nikita Johnson back for a second round. Great opportunity for the American driver. He races in the GB3 Championship, so experience racing at the likes of Silverstone. This almost a good audition process for him to get a full seat in Formula 3 next year.
Yeah, and obviously transitioning teams as well, never easy now in the high-tech car, so he'll have to learn the nuances, how they've got their car set up, even how the team operate with their driver debriefs, and all of that will be very different for him this weekend. So yeah, staying off the curbs as well as an important part of the tyre prep. While that tyre pressure is low, you want to keep the tyres nice and safe.
This is one of the section corners through Copse into Maggots and Beckett's, and you speak to the drivers, this is the one they all love. We spoke to Roman Belinsky on Instagram Live yesterday, absolutely loves it. The Polish driver will consider this somewhat of a home race, and the fans entering the circuit to the sound of the Formula 3 cars, and it looks like we're on to first flying laps now. We pick up the number 20, Teofil now.
Yeah, flat through new turn 1 and 2. This is the first big break of the lap. 75 meters, your brake reference down to 2nd gear. Hold second all the way through the first 2 slow corners of that. Now full throttle through this slight kink in tree. It's nothing but an annoyance, not a corner at all. Then down the Wellington straight, the first DRS open of this lap. Into Brooklyn, super late on the brakes, 50 meters. Get it down a couple of gears to 4th gear, and then it's a late apex into this double apex Luffield corner. You'll see various lines taken here. It looks like now going for the double apex, where you V the corner off. That allows you to go in a bit harder and get on the throttle earlier, but it is a longer distance over the old start-finish line. This is Copse corner. This is where the F3 drivers are saying it's nearly flat. So the car's coming in here, 250, 260 kilometers an hour, 5th gear. Look at the car. There's the plank wearing out. You can see the problem there of the car's bottoming out. Max and Beckett's flat all the way through the right. Slight lift for the left, and then the tiniest of brakes down to 4th and get the car onto the apex curve there. Took up a bit of traffic to contend with, gets out the way well, one of the Rodin cars there. Down Hanger straight. You've only got 2 brake zones left of this lap, so it's important not to miss it. Again, 50 meters, they're so late on the brakes, the DRS automatically shutting. 4th gear through Stoke Corner, really wide there. Just about keeps it legal in the track limits. Definitely 2 or 3 tenths lost there though, running a wide difference. Into Vale, 2nd gear. And again, now hard on the throttle, double apex of club. Don't turn in too early here, because that will make you run wide and get a track limit offence potentially. Push it to the line, a 47.1.
Teofil Nall across the line, great stuff there, and that is a first push lap in, and he'll go through call behind his teammate Santiago Ramos, 47.049. It looked like Ugachiku had a time deleted, so we are seeing track limit offences coming in through Copse corner for some drivers. So that is where a few drivers, Marin and Jelly Headley, had times deleted, but Ramos ahead of Stenchon, ahead of Burt, so they've got to be careful through Copse corner.
Yeah, we saw, didn't we, how aggressive the curb is. coming in hot there into Brooklands and fully rotated the car there for Matthias Zagazzetta. That was a huge moment to go on board with camera. You can see the problem of slow cars here into the first part and just not hard enough on the brakes. Interesting, decided not to lock a tyre, trying to save the tyre, rather run in deep and abort the lap early on.
Yeah, going quick is now Mary Boyer, part of the Aston Martin Aramco Driver Academy. Nicholas Solov up to the line, will be seeking redemption, and his two teammates are 1 and 2. He is P9, so Campos do have the pace this weekend in the early stages of this practice session. Wharton in third, he made his debut in the championship here last year with High-Tech, put in some impressive performances. Then Ramos, Stenchel, Wirtz, Noel Leon, and then we have Stromstead, Solov, and Brad Benavides, who qualified on the front row last weekend. But that's are the early laps in. We got Nicholas Solov in P9. Tim Tramnitz didn't get full lap time in as of yet. And we're just waiting now for Giusti to come across the line, and he looks like he's on for a flyer.
He's still pushing at the moment, so it was an okay lap the lap before, but this is the one he seems to be really hustling on hard at the moment. Quick into here and rolled off the brake nicely. It's important to not overslow the car there and see how much his head's looking into the corner. The vision, so important, trying to see as far into the distance as possible to spot those references as he fires down the Wellington straight.
Yeah, it's down Wellington straight now and into Brooklands, and he has been super consistent. Joe Giusti in the last few rounds has got the momentum behind him. He's up to 7th in the championship, and that's going to be giving him confidence, backed by Williams as well. So he'll have the support behind him this weekend, the Frenchman, but lots of momentum. And when you get that going as a driver, I'm sure, Joe, you must just be coming into these rounds with confidence, and we'll love the fact we've got back-to-back races.
Yeah, you got quite a nice toe of racing as well there over the pit straight, so you'll be liking that. Look at this car's bottoming out. That's how low they're to the floor there. They've been pulling 2.5 G through the lateral load there of Maggotts Beckett's into Chapel. It's a purple sector 2 here, so this is looking good at the moment. Carves his way through the traffic and now has a clear sector 3.
Looking good so far then as Augusti comes out of Stowe down towards the Vale chicane as well. Tenacity points, Privazak 146.379. Murray Boyer in second. Where's Augusti going to come out of the last corner? Big slide, goes off the track, Exeter Club corner. Over the line, goes second, 3/10 down on into Privazak's time, but definitely more room to be found there as it comes through.
It was all there, and that gap to P1 was more than 3.5 tenths in that one mistake. So that was a potential fastest lap.
Yeah, well, that's Alessandro Giusti. Big slide coming out the final corner. Across the line, that puts him in second. We've heard from team manager Jeremy Cotterill talking about Tim Tramnitz. Let's go and hear what Jeremy Cotterill had to say coming into this weekend about Alessandro Giusti and his season as we watch Giusti on screen.
As a driver, he's excellent. He's coming to F3. He's a rookie this year. There's a lot of learning, not just about driving the car, but how the format of the weekend works. His weekends have not always delivered what he should have been able to extract from the weekend, but the main thing is that the pace is there, the speed, his awareness, everything is all there. He's going through a rapid learning curve, and he's doing really well. I think he's great, and for sure he's one for the future.
I think a nice way to sum that up, one for the future. He's one of many drivers who stepped up from Freca this season. 2 podiums for Giusti in the last 2 rounds as well. So seems to be growing in confidence. And Joe, as a driver yourself, someone who's worked with many drivers, when you get that confidence going, you can really see that demonstrating in how much Giusti's pushing out there on circuit straight away in this practice session.
Yeah, we can can see kicking up the dust there. I wonder if the dirty tyres and running wide ultimately after that. And yeah, to be just over 3.5 tenths off the fastest lap with that huge mistake, he'll be relatively confident, bizarrely, going into qualifying.
Yeah, he's never been here before either, so I mean, to be straight up into pace is good. We saw Kamara didn't really get a time in, he ran wide. He eventually did on his second lap, but not at the pace he would have wanted to be. If this were a qualifying session, he wouldn't be in that top 12 to be reversed. It would be a Tsenopol in Chapuvazak pole and a 1-2 for Campos, but we're in the early stages of a practice session so far.
Yeah, P13, really unlucky, isn't it, in the F3 Championship, how the qualifying format.
It's unlucky number 13.
Yes, exactly. There's only 22,000. So here we see Noah Stromstead. The Trident team have been very strong this year, haven't they? Stromsted's manager, Diego Mancheca, again, a very fast driver in his own right, advising this young Noah Stromstead, who had no karting experience, remember. So he's really come through the ranks very quickly. And he hustles the car well through these slow-speed corners. You can see him working away at the wheel. Now that tyre's dropped off, it's losing a second and a half, just 2 seconds a lap. But this is all important info for the race. How is it going to be? It's interesting, got a bit of left hand down. You can see the steering wheel not quite parallel. Is that a curb strike potentially? Has tweaked the geometry of the suspension, going hard into Brooklands. You can see how late he was down to third gear. Is he going to run third? He is, and then grab second at last moment. So Stromstead very good and very disciplined at the downshift there. He's not just banging them down the gears. He's thinking about, do I want the engine braking from the lower gear or not? And let's go through Copse Corner. Just going to go quiet to listen in on his throttle. You can just hear him breathe out the throttle. I guess 50% lift on the way in. Probably just get the front of the car in, let some weight go over the front axle, and then Maggotts Beckett's flat, flat, flat. And now we're going to have a slight lift to get it over to the left, and the tiniest of brakes down a gear into fourth, full throttle again, pushing all the way up to the curb there at Chapel. And now the long hanger straight, DRS fully open. We're grab sixth gear, and we're looking to brake at the 50-meter board here, down 2 gears, 150, 100, 50, down 2, roll in, late apex here. Then the car just breaking free, the rear tyre screaming no more. Into the last break of the lap, into Vale, hard on the brakes, release the brake, get the inside. That was the dust we've seen on the inside getting kicked up earlier. Now through Club, it's close to that big curb on the inside, but don't touch. Finish line comes early, and it was a decent lap from Stromstead, considering the tyre drops off up to 6th place.
Noah Stromstead across the line, that is a good time. And another driver, graduate of Freckett, just getting up to speed with this place. And the Mercedes Junior, that a very impressive performance. Martini Estention, our winner from last round, took his first feature race win and his third win in Formula 3. He's racking them up now. Let's see what he does around the final corner. The Payaka, he'll be getting a lot of support this weekend. The Norwegian over the line, that is 2nd place. And now we are only split by 1/10 of a second between those top 4, less than a tenth between the top 3, around Silverstone. It's close.
It's tight as well, and kind of under the radar there. Ogochukwu went fastest, didn't he? 46.2. So teams are able to improve. You can see a tyre pressure bleed there. The mechanic attached to the front right tyre, just bleeding those tyres down. You want to keep that data completely safe as well. You don't want any other teams to see what tyre pressures you're running.
Ogochukwu fastest, 146.277. We're seeing a lot more laps turned in a normal practice session. I think due to the fact that a lot of drivers haven't been here and how big the circuit is as well, how much of a challenge it is to learn the Silverstone circuit. You've raced here many times, Joe. It's such a tricky one to get your head around.
Yeah, it's a commitment track because there's so many high-speed corners. That's why the drivers love it.
Yeah.
You've just got to build up to it. It's very difficult just to attack this circuit. It's got slightly easier over the years with the more amount of runoff afforded you, so you can overcook it and you don't go in the wall quite as hard as you used to. But still, it is a maximum commitment track, and you can see Boyer here just doing the final prep of his tyres, just making sure he's cleaned up the surface. He's in a really good track position there. Hasn't got any cars wide. You see how dirty it is on the racing line there, though. Cars getting greedy and cutting the inside there, bringing dirt on. That could be a story for qualifying later for these F3 drivers.
Giusti's had his time deleted to the left, by the way. We are seeing those pinged mostly through Copse corner. Giusti's was actually through the final corner. We saw him go wide coming onto the start-finish straight, or just before, and he had his time deleted for that. Okay, let's watch Murray Boyer now through the loop and into Aintree. He goes. It looked like a little bit of work on the steering wheel there for Murray Boyer as he comes now down towards Brooklands.
Yeah, and his focus will be on this braking point now, trying to brake as late as possible. The teams will be advising it's a tailwind there, though, so he needs to just make sure he's not going in too late. Line looking good, slower car in front of him, one of the Dams cars potentially, so he'll want them to get out of the way. That would have been a hesitation to pick up the throttle just because that car was sat right in his way. It was actually Giusti, wasn't it? I thought it was the Dams car, it was the blue Williams MP car there. And this is Copse Corner, where you're talking about the track limits, and that's what we said at the start of this session. This is the most challenging corner, and that's what's going in. It looked like we were wide there, just the body language of the car bouncing all over the track on the exit.
Yeah, Zagazita going just a touch wide at the exit there as well, trying his best to stay inside the circuit zone, but just going a bit too wide, unfortunately. Boyer's time still looking super strong and relevant, though, as he heads down in towards the braking zone for Copse. Keeps the advantage in on the inside line. Last thing you want to do is annoy the circuit. It bites. Silverstone does bite incredibly hard. It's a respected surface. You must then play the respected surface games as the session goes on. Well, the good thing is here, more and more improvements on the overall setting line. So it's not too dissimilar just yet as to what we could see. As the session goes on. And over the line goes Stromstead, who stays in position. Conditions so far improving. Ugo Gachiru is the fastest on a 1:46.277 from Stenshaw. Verts improves that. This is Tim Traminitz down at Copse Corner, going wide and having to take a little bit more of the avoiding action than he would originally have liked. So again, wide. Confirmed, Tim Mayer is running for the presidency of motorsports governing body, the FIA. So that's our breaking news from Silverstone this morning. Tim Mayer is going to try and take over the presidency of the FIA. Kind of expected that to come through, though, in all honesty, between the two. 16 minutes to go then here in Silverstone in Jeffrey's practice.
Sure. Chances for him to score. Intrapuvazak, of course, returning. Tramnitz returning. Solov returning. Tapanin is settling in very well, but it looks like quite a huge amount of that top 10 are all experienced drivers round this circuit. Louis Sharp doing a very good job. He's someone who's raced a lot in the UK, a champion in the UK multiple times. That looks to be the difference so far in the early stages of the practice session.
Yeah, I would agree, and less race series come to Silverstone these days, so it's harder to come here on your junior ranks on the way up. As we look at Tapping here, setting the lap. At the moment, he's the fastest driver out of anyone in Sector 1. He's got that purple Sector 1. So as we start the lap, he'll be feeling confident through Abbey into Farm. He's obviously got this bit fully hooked up. His braking point into Village. Slow 1, as a lot of the drivers call it. Into slow number 2 now. Obviously reprofiled in 2010. Have a completely different circuit here now since then. We lost Bridge, we lost Priory, but we gained those 2 slow corners. Down the Wellington Straight, DRS fully open. What's his Sector 1 like? The fastest is a 33.6, done by himself, only a 10th slower. So considering the tyres dropped off, it's still looking like a good lap from Tapping.
It is. Now he heads round Luffield, bees that corner off, and gets a good run, full traction out of there into Woodcote now. And it's going to be down the old start-finish straight and the run down to Copse Corner. And this is where you've got to be careful of track limits, Jack.
Yeah, he's seen it. He needs to thread the eye of the needle while wearing some oven gloves, just about legal. I think we kept a tyre where it needed to be. Into Magnus and Beckett's going to get to the end of sector 2 after this sequence of corners, arguably the best sequence of corners in the world. The balance of the car fighting all over the place. The Scandinavian flick left and right there in a Formula 3 car. Not the fastest, but that is his best sector 2. 2/10 off. You can see it's green, so that's his personal best into this final part of the lap. We've seen the car looking loose. Is that going to be the trend for the rest of the lap? The rear of the car squatting, lovely balance, looking okay now. How much dirt is on the inside of Vale as we break down the hill? Easy to miss it. Still a bit not as dirty as we saw midway through the session. And this blast to the line, the driver's doing shortest distance, sometimes worrying there. 3/10 lost, half a second down on the lap. Still think that was a pretty good lap considering where we are tyre life-wise.
Yeah, he's getting the feel of it, of what he could have to deal with in terms of the race. Thank you to the team in the gallery for giving us that onboard through Magnus and Beckett's. That was spectacular stuff, wasn't it? Coming through there when you're dealing with worn tyres is a completely different experience to when you've got new tyres.
Yeah, exactly. You see Jock Clear looking on at one of these drivers there, the Ferrari Academy, doing well at the moment. They've recruited very, very well.
Yeah, well, they've got Kamara leading. You've got Tim Tramnitz, a Red Bull Junior, Nicholas Solov's a Red Bull Junior, Stenshion's a McLaren Junior, Stromstead Mercedes, Mary Boyer, Aston Martin, Giusti Williams, Tappanen Ferrari. So the top 8 in the championship, all F1 backed, and 11 drivers in this championship are F1 backed overall. Let's pick up Lawrence Van Hoopen round the final corner now, up to the line. And speaking of F1 supported drivers, Joe, this is the first big feeder series into the F1 paddock now, and it's amazing the opportunity they get and the spotlight on them as we watch Van Hoopen. Is this going to be... Oh, that's a moment.
Great save there. There was a huge amount of opposite lock needed. There was a track limit that's just come up on the timing screen, unsurprisingly, but he would actually accept that. The moment the car was breaking free, he was like, I'll take a track limit here rather than shoving it in the wall. Great car control from the Dutch driver. But you're right, the Formula 3 level of the ladder is so important. But to have all 4 here, F4 to F1, we touched on it earlier, sometimes you need a ladder to get a good view, and at the moment F1 are using that ladder to find their next talent.
Yeah, I mean, great to see the F4 guys here. We've got former champions of the British F4 racing within this championship, and I have to say, best of luck to all the drivers racing in that. It's going to be superb display of racing. Can't wait to watch it, so good luck to all of them so far this weekend. It is a non-championship race, but really do wish them all the best. And drivers in that will very soon, I'm sure, be racing in FIA Formula 3. Nicola Lacorte then, back from serving that suspension at Red Bull Ring. And I think a chance here at Silverstone to just draw a line under what's happened so far this season. He had a suspension, for those of you who haven't been following the season, racked up over 12 points on his licence over the Monaco and Barcelona weekends for several incidents. It all really went wrong in the Barcelona feature race, where he had a crash with Brando Badoer, and then had 2 incidents under the safety car where he was going too quickly. So a real shame for Nicola Lacorte, but this is a chance to draw a line under that and just move on.
Yeah, and it's as hard as a driver sometimes just to move on. You've missed a race, so you suddenly feel out of the loop. Everyone else has had some more track time over you, but all you can do is focus on the future. The past has gone, you can't change it. My only fear there for the 29 Dams car, I've seen a fair amount of smoke coming out of the car on the corner entry. It's not a tyre locking, it's almost like overrun of the engine burning. A bit of obviously all the teams get our pictures and they will check that, but just a slight worry there. I saw it a couple of times, a puff of blue smoke. Potentially there's some work for the Dams team to do before qualifying.
And this is a driver who won on track last year. It's not a surprise to actually see him down in P26. I think it's because of track limits, but he won on track here last year. Would have felt that this was his race win. And Callum Voisin will be coming back here to kind of reclaim the win that he felt would have been his. Well, we talk about Callum Boysen. It's his home race, Silverstone, the one that he would have been looking forward to all season. And coming into the weekend, we spoke to him about his home race and Silverstone.
It's fast, you've got to be smooth, you've got to be precise. A lot of curves that you need to hit in the right sense, in the right way. Yeah, it's very flowing. There's really nowhere to relax around here. You get 2 short straights and then you're straight into high-speed corners, of which, you know, I guess I'm used to. I've driven this track quite a lot over the last couple of years, so yeah, but it's a great track in general to drive.
I mean, big weekends for Callum Boysen. We should mention, Arvid Lindblad did a historic double here last year. Became the first in FIA Formula 3 terms to take a double. The first since Antonio Felix da Costa did it at this level at Hungary in 2012 in the GP3 series. Arvid Lindblad winning on home soil doing the double. And we said at the time, he was the first British driver to win at Silverstone. When George Russell did it in 2017, George Russell later that year went on to test a Formula 1 car. Congratulations, of course, to Arvid Lindblad, who now returns a year later to test a Formula 1 car. It's going to be a fantastic weekend for our graduate of the championship.
Yeah, home support is amazing, but home pressure is another way of looking at it. As we look at Boysen through Maggots and Beckett's here, and you can see Edge on the side, that's his management company. These management companies, CEO there, Eddie Reynolds, will have Boysen working all weekend, all with his sponsors and all his guests, all going on at the moment. So it's not just about driving around in circles for these drivers.
The pressure on, as we see, Rafa Kamara has gone faster, 146.232. So he's getting to grips with the circuit now, but we're expecting 500,000 people in this weekend. I mean, Callum Boysen, the pressure, he'll know that when he walks into the circuit, both tomorrow and on Sunday and today. How is he going to deal with that as a driver and the rest of the British drivers?
Difficult. Loud music, headphones is always a nice way of doing it. And you can actually see Kamara lost his lap there to track limits, so we thought it was going to be lights Kamara action, but the last part of that trilogy was knocked off. Solov going fastest. Look at that, 2 purple sectors, great lap. 45.8. We're getting closer to the pole position time of a 44.9 from last year.
Well, his championship rival has gone fastest. Where's Tim Tramnitz, P7? So it's all down to track limits. I mean, this is going to be a real... our timing screen for track limits can't quite keep up right now. Let's go on board with Stenchon. And that is someone ahead running wide. Difficult out of Luffield, isn't it, to get caught out? That's one of the Van Amersfoorts.
Yeah, it was great driving with Stenson. He actually kept the exit tight because he could see all the gravel getting kicked up. So he was worried that gravel was going to be on the exits. We see a huge slide as well. That's at 220, 230 kilometers an hour. The car control these guys are showing, second to none. We've only had 1 yellow flag the whole session. That was early on. James Orton had a spin in the middle of the lap. So these drivers for an early morning session are definitely on the top of their game.
Yeah, they are all fired up for this one. And Giusti again has had a time deleted. He's currently 21 seconds back. I mean, if he were to have similar issues in qualifying, he'd be having to go to the stewards and ask if he can race here. He needs to get a lap time in this practice session. Noel Leon now comes through the first few corners. He was good here last year, Noel Leon, particularly in challenging conditions. Comes through the first 2 corners. A tough season though for Prema. I mean, we haven't seen them yet on the podium. There we go, black and white flag for Giusti. I mean, it's almost a warning now to him that you need to get a lap time on the board.
Yeah, race control got his card marked as well, so he needs to be squeaky clean in qualifying. As we've seen interesting, the drivers all doing a lot more laps than they said they were going to yesterday when I spoke to them. They were saying, oh, we're only going to do 5 or 6 time laps and the tyre drops off. But I think the difficult nature of this corner they're coming to, they want to get as many laps in as possible now in practice to make sure when it comes race time, they're able to keep the car on the track. Qualifying, they lose their lap, but ultimately in the race, once you do 5 track limits, you will start attracting a time penalty. Yeah. And they want to be able to know that how hard they can attack that very difficult Copse corner.
Yeah, and that's just warnings going out. You can't of using track limits, that could be an issue come the races. But the driver's just trying to find the limit. And Rene Rosing, coming out, and he was positive about the pace Kramer showed, and they are continuing to show that pace. Pigachiku, third in this session. The American did get a podium, but sadly a penalty post-race. Lost that podium. Overall, a great weekend for him. Let's see if they can continue that pace here. They got the double with Arvid Lindblad last season. It's just not quite been their season so far, but showing good pace last time out. They'll look to continue that. Solov, fastest though, he'll be very pleased with that in terms of the championship.
Yeah, it's a nice line in the sand, and 3/10 clear as well. It's a huge margin. It's the biggest margin when you look down the field all the way to get to the 27th to 26th gap. So a dominant lap there from Solov. As you look at Prema there, not looking overly happy, and the problem is with a new car, there's a whole new ethos of how to make a race car fast, and potentially they've gone down the wrong tangent, and now they're having to circle back and try and work out what the top team's done. You'd say Trident, probably the strongest out of the box, trying to work out where they've gone. As we look at Belinsky here through the last corner, pushing all the way to the line, not going to get somewhere near the front. Oh, it's P7, that was a good final sector actually. I thought he was going to struggle to get in the top 10, so fastest road-in driver.
He hasn't been here for a few years, Roman Belinsky, but he does know this place well. This is someone who's going very quickly on board with Tramnitz.
Yeah, purple sector 1, so a 10th quicker than we saw from Tappinen earlier. Car looking great through Magnussen Beckett's. I say that has a slight snap of oversteer. Good exit there, so the tyres hanging on well. So now the driver's just making sure they get every upshift perfect in the torque band of this V6 engine. 380 horsepower, green sector 2 still looking good. This could be good enough to get near to Solov. P1 at the moment, that is wide. I think that could be a track limit. Stowe as well as Copse very heavily enforced with the track limit as a judge of fact there. Cameras supporting them. There's no argument. It isn't up for debate. You can't appeal it. It's a fact. It's given. He crosses the line, goes up to second. I think that mistake at Stowe was a couple of tenths.
MP Motorsports second and fourth. They haven't taken pole in 3 years. Could today be their day? Tramnitz second, Giusti fourth. Tim Tramnitz yet to get a pole position in Formula 3. Giusti likewise. They are looking very quick to challenge today. It's looking good for them. Just over 2 minutes on the clock, and they'll be confident with that. Is Solov still leading? Oh, but there we go. Pinged again, Giusti. That's turn 9.
He's on the black and white flag.
Yeah, so that could be a. There we go. So that's a confirmation, and yeah, he had a black and white flag. So
there's only 2 minutes left, but he could be getting a black flag in a practice session for a repeated track limit offence. It's at turn 9. It's Copse corner. He will be scratching his head until it bleeds after this session, working out what he needs to do ahead of qualifying.
And they are shaking their heads down at MP Motorsport, and it could be an issue if he's not to get a time in qualifying, if there's similar issues.
Huge issues, and the team are on the radio. I'm sure they are fully irate. In football terms, that's like being on a yellow card, the manager saying, right, nothing stupid, half-time starts, you just kick someone in the head. It needs to be reined back in by a huge margin, and he has got a whole world of her for the next session, which is qualifying.
Well, there we go. Brad Benavides, who did get points last time, almost getting his best results. A 9th place, got his a front row start, the first front row start for AIX Racing. A great result for them. Went on to get 9th place in the feature race, the American, and that will give him a load of confidence. Kamara, personal best through the first sector. See what Brad Benavides can do. Whoa, big slide through Copse corner. We're really seeing them push through there. Huge slide. Some more black and white flags going out. It's time for Zagazeta and for Van Houten. As Benavides comes through Maggots and Beckett's, now on to the hanger straight down to Stowe corner.
I'm super excited for the race from Copse, because if we're seeing cars this loose already on relatively fresh tyres, older tyres running side by side through Copse, that is where you need to be watching. If you're a trackside now, Copse corner exit is going to be the hot seat of this F3 race.
If you've just been watching this practice session, if you're flicking on for the first time for Formula 3, just note it down. We're qualifying at 2 p.m, 9:15 local time for the sprint, 9:30 for the feature race. Make sure you are tuned in, ready to go when we go green. Kamara round the final corner, P4. I think he'll be happy with that. His championship rivals are 1 and 2, but 4 keeps him within arm's length. And Jock Clear there, of course, heading up that Ferrari Driver Academy. Kamara, part of the Ferrari Driver Academy, will be happy with what he's seeing, doing what a championship leader needs to do, and keeping his championship rivals within arm's length.
Yeah, who's first to take the flag, and remember, lost at the time, fastest lap as well as track limits. So Kamara, happy boy here, working away at the tyres, hard on the throttle, always asking a lot of the rear tyre. 2.6 quite high in the car. He obviously has a good visibility, but potentially blocking a bit of airflow into the top of the air induct there. And that again, perfect track limits this time for Boyer all the way up to the white line, but not beyond.
Charlie Wirtz, second. Really great job for the Austrian driver. He would have been devastated last weekend when he looked on to challenge for a podium on home soil and he was turned around by Fernando Badoer in a real unfortunate incident. But Charlie Wirtz, can he go and recover? This, I think he could consider almost a bit of a second home race for him. He would go and love to take a podium here as we watch Boyer.
Yeah, I think this is a good lap. We could be on for a top 10, maybe even a top 8, as we've seen quite a few drivers improving on their last lap to the checkered flag. Obviously, the fuel load at its lowest, so that will be helping weight-wise. What can Boyer do? 19th at the moment, crosses the line, stays 19th. Not a great sector 3. You can see that green sector 1 and 2, but then a personal best not followed up in sector 3. And look at the team. They looked at each other like, what happened there?
Nikita Johnson using his GB3 Championship experience to jump up to P6 on just his second weekend racing in FIA Formula 3. He's made the jump from that 29 car, albeit in Dam's colours last weekend, to the silver high-tech P6.
Wow.
I mean, he did no testing pre-season. He's jumped into a brand new Formula 3 car. He's got his head around it very quickly.
He has indeed. Solov, though, is the fastest so far this morning. From Wirtz, Tramnitz, Stenshall, Kamara, the top 5, as we kick off the British Grand Prix weekend in style. So Solov then takes it early doors. As we've now repaired the commentary box chair as well after a bit of an issue. One of the arms came loose, so tightened it up. Fantastic chairs, the GTO Megas. 5 years old and not a thing wrong. It is unbelievable. Highly recommend them as well. Not even sponsored by them, I just love the chair. Wirtz and Tramnitz second and third. Sector 2 though and 3 is where Wirtz really starts to claw the time back. Pretty much matched in the middle sector as they come onto the grid then for the practice starts. F2 practice is up next here at Silverstone for the British Grand Prix.
On the run, so the launch is even more important because you're full throttle for 700 metres before you brake. So the drivers getting lined up in their box perfectly is important, but the launch much important. Finding the revs, finding the clutch bite point, not jumping off the clutch, but not letting it drag either. Any energy going into the clutch could be energy used to move forward. It looked like a good start from Wirtz there. It's great to see that crash helmet livery. Obviously his father used to paint his own crash helmet, so it's great to see. We're going to get a chance to see Solov's start here. So he's just rolling to the grid. The tyres will be slightly warmer than they would at the start of the race, so he will factor that in with his revs. So he's just going to roll up to the grid box. Obviously no lights changing here, so it's all in their head. They're just going to roll up there, position it between the white lines. He's going to go and get his front left wheel on that yellow line. That really helps the driver get it in because he stops perfectly on top. Watch the rev count at the top of the dash. Raise all the way to the limiter, straight off the clutch. For me, he dumped it a bit quick there. Did you hear the revs drop and then pick up? So he will then just monitor that in the back of his mind. Next time I do that, I need to release the clutch ever so slower just to let the revs stay higher for longer.
You see, it's flat out through one into two, isn't it? And we were 3 wide through there last year in the sprint race. Murray Boyer now comes around for his practice start. So it's an opportunity there where you can, because of how quick it is, if you get a run on the outside, you can ping it round the outside and make a challenge in the braking zone. Let's watch Boyer.
So just doing the final bit of tyre prep, wants a bit more rear tyre temp. So listen to the revs this time, see if Boyer can keep them slightly higher. Almost worse, to be honest. He didn't let the car rev at all. He rushed that. It's like he wants to get back to the garage. That wasn't the best practice start, in my opinion. Too rushed. Didn't put enough effort into getting everything right. Flat through two. This will be where the action spot is. They can run 3, 4 wide there. And he showed the outside line can work because it comes the inside line. No.
Yeah. And that is where the pinch point is come the race. Because what could be 4 wide into 3, 4 wide into into Village becomes sort of 2 wide into the loop, and that's where in F3 and F2 you see a bit of a pinch point. But overall, good. It was just a bit of a track limit penalties in that one.
Yeah, huge. No red flags, only 1 spin. It was a great session to see what these F3 cars can do.
Yeah, I mean, great display of car control through Cobbs, through Maggots and Beckett's. Really, really enjoyable, that one. Okay, Nicola Solo fastest, 145.847, just under 3/10 clear ahead of Charlie Burtz. Tim Tramnitz in 3rd place. So 2 of the chasing drivers to Rafa Kamara, 1 and 3, Kamara 5th. Stenchorn ahead. Nikita Johnson, well done, P6 ahead of fellow American on the 4th of July, Hugo Chuku. And then we had Tapanen, Delpino, Belinsky, Santiago Ramos 11th, Sanapoint, Chapuvazak, and then Voisin, Dominguez, Gerard G, James Wharton, Noah Stromstead, Niall, Mari Boyer. Alessandro Giusti did get a lap in at the end, P20, and that could be crucial. So the news coming through to him that he needed to get a lap in and did get one in. Louis Sharp 21st, Branda Badaware 22nd, Brad Benavides 23rd, Noel Leon, James Headley, Christian Ho, Nicola Lacorte, Lawrence Van Hoopen, Matthias Agazetta, Nicola Marin and Jelly.
So that's the end then of the first practice session of the weekend here and Formula 3's only session. Next up, Formula 2 will get underway here at Silverstone for their session. You can join us live here on JB Motorsports for all of the action. We'll see you shortly at 10 o'clock UK time. See you soon. Bye-bye.